Okay, without further ado, we are going to get started in here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and welcome. Hello, and I want to officially welcome you all. My name is Sasha Digges. I am inviting you to join me tonight when we're going to talk about hip pain and sciatica. And this is an interactive webinar. So I'm going to present for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I want you guys to throw some questions in. I did send an email out. Hopefully you did see it so that you will be able to ask some questions and we'll be able to answer them as we go along. Just to let you know, I am a physiotherapist with over 25 years of experience. That's sometimes positive, sometimes negative, but all the time learned. I've done it both in physical therapy and in spine and sports rehabilitation. If you want to learn who more we are, just go to our website and then click on about meet the team, and some of my stuff's on there. So I have a few housekeeping notes to go over. Please leave your video on. As again, I said, I hate looking at blank squares. Mute yourself until you have a question, and we'll be able to throw that on. If you have a question you would like to ask, just type your name in the chat, and then I'll be able to call on you, and then you can turn your video and audio on, and we'll go from there. Just to let you know, throughout my education, everything else, there is no dumb question. I do remember, I think it was 1995, just a couple years ago. I was sitting in the back of a class for introduction to athletic training, and I'm a certified athletic trainer. And the teacher was talking. His name's Dave Lee, and he worked in both the Pan Am Games, the Olympics, pro, NBA, and college Division I basketball. And he goes, you know, we're talking about the KISS principle and this, that, and the other. And I was like, does everybody know what the KISS principle is? And I was like, the one guy in the back, I was like, David, I don't know what the KISS principle is. And most of the kids there were undergrads. And there was 3 of us that were in the PT program, physical therapy, that were graduate students. And I was the one who raised the hand. He goes, Sash, it's very simple. KISS stands for keep it simple, stupid. And the last word I heard was stupid. So needless to say, I've renamed it, keep it super simple. I don't like calling anybody stupid. I do have 2 teenagers and they are not stupid, but they do stupid things. So thank God we did not have these mobile devices when we were growing up, because I would be in a lot more trouble than I've already been. So ask questions. There's nothing stupid. Anybody can learn. And if you have it, use it. And the best thing about tonight, just relax and learn, and we're gonna have some fun. So, okay. If you can drop in the chat, how did you hear about the workshop? So that way I can hear about it. I know have done some few things, a couple more emails, things here at the clinic, and I've put some stuff out. So I just want to learn how you heard about us on the workshop. So I'm going to ask a couple questions to be, and raise your hands. Who has been in physical therapy before? And I have 5 knee surgeries, so I've lived there. Anybody currently in physical therapy? Okay, I'm sort of like in a mild rehab program because I'm getting back to exercise. I won't get hinged. Okay, here's the one thing. Who has had a positive experience in physical therapy? Everyone good? Okay. Who has had a Vince? That's not very. I know you've been to PT before, and the fact you didn't raise your hand is very disconcerting. You better not raise your hand on this one because I know where you live, or I'll look it up. Who has had a negative experience in physical therapy? I have. I've been to a clinic, and that's one of the reasons. I know what not to do, so what's important to do. Does anybody currently who is watching us or in the recording, does anybody have any hip pain or sciatic, which is what we call referred pain down the leg? Does anybody have that currently? Anybody? Okay, thank you. Okay, Vince, good to see you. Okay, so we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to have you guys go through a couple movements in your own home. And they're very simple. We're going to look at 2 main aspects. We're going to look at, do you have a limited motion? Okay, so that can be either soft tissue, such as muscle or the nervous system inhibiting your movement, or do you have abnormal? And what I call abnormal symptoms is if you pull your pinky back and you have discomfort, that's a stretch, that's normal tissue. If there's a lingering discomfort or pain, I consider that abnormal. Or if it is a stretch or a symptom that you consider if you check some of the other fingers and it's not the same, it's a little bit higher level, it's more intense, it's more uncomfortable, then I would consider that abnormal. So we're going to look at two things as we go through a couple of movements. And these are some of the things that we do here in the clinic, but I want you to do them at home. So it's a self-test that you can do as well. So if you want to stand up and get a little bit of room, if you don't want to stand up and you want to do them at a later time, I'm just going to tilt the screen down so you guys can see me. The first one we're going to do is a standing rotation. So with your feet together, knees together, we always do it with our feet together and knees together. Why? Because if I touch with my feet apart, how far apart are your feet when you do it? So when your feet and knees are together, or knees together, because you may have knock knee, or you may be bow leg and your feet get together and your knees are apart, that does not make a difference. We're always at the same position. Okay. So the first movement we're going to do, and if you can watch your thing, is a nice and easy, is a standing rotation. So I always put my hands down, shake them out in like a downward V, and we're just going to gently turn to the right. Now, if you're with someone, and we can take a little bit of time to do this, you should be able to turn without moving your feet enough that the person looking at you can see the back shoulder. Okay, that's normal. If they stack up, so your left shoulder in this case is in front of your right shoulder, okay, that's functional. If I'm not turned far enough and you can still see my left shoulder and my right shoulder is in front of it, I'm not moving well. So I'm moving, first movement, I'm turning to the left. If you can't see my right shoulder, that's functional. If I turn so far that you can see the back aspect of my left shoulder and my right shoulder, that's normal. Okay. If you get to the point where you can still see this left shoulder as I turn left, you're limited. Okay. I'm going to go to the right. If I turn, that's limited, 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 limited. Now, if I can see my left shoulder is covering my right, that's functional. If I can turn so far that you can see the back aspect of my right, that's normal. Okay. For us, we're looking for two aspects. Can you at least get functional range of motion and have no abnormal symptoms? So I'm going to step a little closer. I'm turning to the left. You should be able to see the back aspect of my left shoulder. Okay. If my right shoulder blocks the left shoulder, but you can't see the left shoulder, that's functional. Okay. If I turn to the right, you should be able to see my back shoulder. If you can't see my back right shoulder and my left completely blocks it, that's functional. If I turn closer and you see my right, that's limited. On myself, as I turn, I'm functional both ways. I have no symptoms. Now, with all these movements, I don't want you to real quickly whip it around. You're doing it slow and controlled. You should be able to hold the movement. You should be able to breathe in this position. You shouldn't be able to breathe. Go, come out of it, exhale, go into it. Inhale, come out of it, exhale. I'm exaggerating, but I see people like, yeah, I got it. And every time they breathe, the shoulder comes back around. That means they have a limitation. Okay, that as well. Got it? Good. Okay, standing side bends. So hands are by your side, nice and tall. As I affectionately say in the clinic, don't fall forward, don't fall backwards, don't fall over. Okay, hands by your side. You're just going to slide. We're going to go to our left first. You're going to slide your left hand as far down as you can go without bending forward. Okay, again, feet together. You should be able to touch your knee joint. Okay, let's go to the right. Good. Side bend. We're looking at the thoracic and the lumbar spine in these movements. Okay, so we got rotation, we got side bends. Okay, can you go right, left? Can you hit the joint without causing any limitations or any symptoms? Okay. Again, this will be on video. If you guys want to redo it or have someone check you do it, say, oh, how I'm doing. Don't stand there. Just come down. Can I pause? Can I go through one breath cycle? And then I kind of come back up. Same thing to the left. Can I go down, go through one breath cycle, and then come back up? Okay. Forward toe touches. Turn to the side, feet together, knees together. Hands are on the front part of your thighs. You slide down forward toward the toes without bending your knees and then come back up. Okay. Can you go down far enough, to actually touch your toes and come back up? Now, we're looking at, can you accomplish the movement? Can you do it without any abnormal symptoms? If you feel a little stretch in your hamstrings, that's okay, because you may get an end range of motion, but you should be able to achieve this without any issues. Okay. So we've just finished looking at some range of motion, some some mobility of the spine. That's key, because what happens is if the spine is limited or we're having issues in the spine, the hip, and refer to the sciatic nerve that emanates out of the low back going down the leg, will not move properly. Okay. Now, we have some fun tests that I came up with to look at this, and I went over with this with my colleague, Miss Cindy. So I'm going to reach up a little bit so you guys can see. Okay. The first one is called a high knee. And when I came up with it, Cindy laughed because I had her do it, and I want you guys to do it. And you don't have to do it now. You can watch me do it. And when I was practicing it today, just to go over through my mind and go through this, there was actually one side that I was really good on, and there was one side I was really bad on. So the movement is this. Okay. I'm standing to the side. What happened is my foot, as you can tell, my feet are against the wall. I'm going to step off one of my feet. Okay. One of my feet. I'm barefoot, so you guys can see. I wore gray shoes today, so the gray on the gray floor would probably match in. So I wanted to have a little bit of discernment between the two. Okay, my head's against the wall, my upper back's against the wall, and my hips are against the wall. In this movement, what I'm going to do is hands are down by my side, nice and easy. I want to bring my knee, can my knee at least come to the side of my hip? Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. Can I pull my toe up, my knee up, and is at least the knee the same height of my hip? Okay, this is an active motion. Okay, so I can do it well on that side. As I come up, and I come up to the left, it's more of a challenge. So my hands are against the wall. Let's kick it up a notch. So my head's against the wall, upper back's against the wall, my bum is against the wall. My hands are here. Can I bring it up? Oh yeah, I'm good on this one. Bring it back down, get myself set. As you can tell, I'm not as good on this side. Now, here's the key point. We look at two things here at the clinic. We look at mobility and we look at motor control. Now, if I stand here and pull up, my knee can actually come up. So is it a mobility limitation as I do it against the wall? No, because I can do it freestanding. The problem is I don't have the stability or motor control in that hip for this knee to move correctly. So if somebody comes in and they're like, my hip doesn't move well, it may not be this hip. This hip may not be stable enough to actually handle what this hip requires. You follow me? So this is a great exercise. We can do it. Can I do it? Yes, I've got the motion, okay? Because I'm stable. Boom. Got me? Good. Hands across the wall. And you can actually do this in your door jam. If you guys don't have wall, you can do it in your door jam. That's where I did it. Here, come up. Oh, right leg's good. Next one, I've got to think about it, and I'm more unstable. And as you can tell, I shake a little bit. Okay. I've had three knee surgeries on my right, 2 on my left. That may be a reason, my untraining, and or may have not had the really good motor control on my right side, which is what the nervous system and the muscle system work together, motor control. And that may be why I had my left injuries and subsequent 2 knee surgeries. Okay. So that's high knee. So hands down and hands across here. We're looking at 2 things. We're looking at range of motion. And then the second thing is we're looking at motor control, the one at your lift. We're looking at how well the stability, which is a lot of people use the term, in their hip, and we can see what's going on. Okay. Second one, toe ups. This is one of my favorite exercises as both an exercise. Feet are against the wall. You're going to step off one of your feet off the wall. So in that case, if you can see me, my feet are against the wall. I'm going to step off one of my feet and the other one matches it. That's what I'm speaking about. Okay. Everybody clear? So whatever you've been blessed with, that's it. Okay. These are called toe ups. Heads against the wall, shoulders against the wall, glutes come off the wall, hands are here. Can you pull your toes up, pause, and not let your hips dink back? Okay, you don't want that. So can you do it? Here's a key point. Can you do it 20 times? So I'll let you guys try it 20 times. Here's the key point. And as I am a little bit of a smart aleck when I ask people this question, but it makes them think, and hopefully don't forget it. What is the number one reason people fall? Dale, you can't answer that because we already had this conversation once upon a time. We fall due to gravity. That's it. Now, thank God gravity's effect. What is the second reason physically we fall? It's actually the inability to pull our toes up to clear the floor when we walk. If I take a step and I don't clear my toe, I'm going to catch it on a rug, on a sill, on a step, on a curb, and I go down. So this is a very important exercise. The other thing is, if you don't have good neural clearance coming out of your lumbar sacral, especially sacral spine down here, then you're not going to get the activation for the muscles on the front part of your shin. Okay. You may feel like I can't pull my toes up, not because I don't have the strength. You may feel tightness back here in the calf, or it may be both. Or you may have a neurological limitation, the happy trifecta, as we call it, right? So you've got to be able to pick up your toes. My goal is for all my clients and all my patients, can you do it 20 times? I had a gentleman who ran, placed 33rd in the Hawaiian Ironman, which are the elite of the elite. They do 1,500 athletes from all over the world run a race. That's 2.5 miles of swimming, 112 miles of biking, followed by 26.2 miles. He actually could do the point, which I talked him through it. He could actually do single leg up here, and he could do single leg up, toe lifts, and he could do 25 on each leg without any shifting. It was amazing. I'm like, well, good. I'm glad I came with the exercise and you can actually do it. So that's one. Okay. Now we're going to flip it around. Can you do it? I'm gonna put my hands gently against the wall here. Can you do 20 heel raises? So we did 20 toe raises. Can you do 20 heel raises? That is the basic minimum test to see how much calf strength you have. Can you do 20? Now, if you can do that, then your point is, can you do it single leg? That's the ultimate goal. Can you do 20 calf raises in a row? Do you have the strength? Do you have the endurance? Okay. 20 for toe ups, just let's pause, and then 20 heel ups. Okay. Everybody with me? Nice, slow, take your time. The last one we're going to do, I've got two more. The last one we're going to do is you're going to need a chair. So you can use a chair. I'm going to use a stool so you guys can see. It's very, very simple. And this is very, very simple. Now, as we get older, our hips don't stay as mobile. And most people have this issue when they come to see us in the physical therapy clinic. And how I can tell is that when they tie their shoes, their shoelaces are skewed, not to the center, like mom and dad used to teach them. It's off to the side. So can you sit on the edge of your chair safely, put your ankle on right above your knee, as we call superior, which is my knee joints here. It's right above. While sitting tall. That's why I use the stool so I can run. I don't want this. See how my knee's high? My knee should be, and my lower leg should be horizontal. The other thing is I shouldn't be leaned over. I should have nice, good, tall posture. Curve here, curve up here, same curve as my low back here, my neck. Is my shin horizontal while my other foot's flat on the ground? Yes or no? Okay. Put it down. Can you do it on the other side? Now, honestly, okay, I'm asking this of you guys. I'm asking this same of me. My left side is easier than my right side. I have a little tension here on the right side. How about you guys? Do you have one side that's easier than the other? Which is kind of interesting because this is the right side that is not, I don't have as good as motor control. So I have a little bit of limitation in rotation as well as the motor control or stability. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, talk about foot drop. Yeah, it's very, you'll see real quick. And then if you guys master that, walk on your toes, walk on your heels, it'll come. Doctors will have you do it. The guidelines are, can you do 20? So that's why you guys can do this at home. And here's the thing, you ever get bored brushing your teeth? Now you've got something to work on. So my right hip is not as mobile as my left hip. Okay. Let's all be transparent. Okay. So do you have one side tighter than the other? Okay. The last one that I came up with, and I ran this by my colleague, Miss Cindy, okay, is being tall, can you move so that without shifting your leg in or out, can you just rotate your foot out and not peer over while maintaining tall posture? Can I see the outside of my foot as I rotate? You see what I'm doing? I'm just kicking it out. Okay. Same thing on the left. Okay, good. I can see it. Can I kick? There should actually be, and when we get into the task, we should be able to get 45 degrees of movement. So this is internal. This was external rotation. I'm externally rotating my foot. So now it's out. This is internal rotation. So as I do it, it moves inward. Okay. We're just talking about, can we have a healthy joint? Myself, I have a minimal limitation on both sides. Haven't been working on them. Guess what? Preparing for this presentation early this week and last week, I felt the same tightness, but I didn't want to work on it because I want to demonstrate that myself being a 52-year-old athlete or aging athlete, we'll call him, has issues as well. Okay. So you guys are the same way. So great. Well, let me give you a couple things to work on so that you're at home. Okay. So I'm going to switch it around. I'm going to actually move my table a little bit, and I'm going to do some of these lying down. Okay. So real quick, does anybody have any question? Yeah, mature athlete. Well, I don't know. You talk to my family and my mom. The mature may not be quite the word she would say. I still have a big kid in me, probably like most everybody else. Any questions at the moment? Okay, so I'm gonna demonstrate these. You can use these. I'm gonna flip this around so that we are. I'm gonna move this back a little bit. Good. Okay. All right, good. Now, here we go. Now, you can see the table. The first one that I'm going to demonstrate is very simple, and it's really healthy for the spine. Here's a question for you. Okay, they did a research study back in the 1980s by a gentleman, Robin McKenzie, and unfortunately he passed away 4 to 5 years ago. And he is one of the top back guys in the world, and his institute still continues. Does anybody want to take a guess how many times we have a flexion or forward bend movement at the spine every day? And unfortunately, I would like for them to do an updated study because I think due to the advent of mobile phones, tablets, and personal computers, I think this number has skyrocketed. But back then, the research showed that we bent forward at the lumbosacral spine 3,000 to 5,000 times a day. 3,000 to 5,000 times a day. So if you have any curiosity why people, when they get older, they have a little bit of a hunched forward posture, that may give you a clue. Okay, 3,000 to 5,000 times a day. So the first exercise movement position. And I tell this to a lot of people who work on their laptops and work on their computers and work on their tablets and on their phones. If you're going to spend time seated, and we're going to get to a part, make sure you're seating correct. Now, a lot of people will do it in bed, which I recommend against, and I recommend sitting on the couch. But if you do it on your couch, you should alternate the position with what we call prone, up on elbows. So you're laying on your tummy, your elbows are underneath your shoulders. If you want to rest your hands, okay, if you can see me, underneath your chin, and you just relax in this position. Now, this exercise, this movement, this position, I recommend for people to at least do for 2 minutes, and they should do a minimum of 4 times a day. Remember, we are bending forward on average 3,000 to 5,000 times a day. What is 4 times 2 minutes? It's 8 minutes. It's inconsequential toward that. The other thing is I spend time, I set my alarm on my phone that when I'm sitting on my computer, if I've been sitting for half an hour on my computer, which takes no time at all, I have to be at least prone on elbows, working on my laptop or on my tablet and or reading for 15 minutes. Okay. Same thing as we tell people who swim. If you're going to do the forward stroke, then you've got to work on the backstroke on the opposing muscle group. Okay. So that's the first one. The second one is called a single knee to chest triple flexion. And we call it triple flexion because we're looking at 3 joints. We're looking at what the ankle joint does, what the knee joint does, and what the hip does. So the movement is this. And the key with this is that the bottom leg, when you lay back and do it, I'm going to demonstrate it first. Okay. I'm going to pull one knee to my chest. I'm going to initiate, not with my knee, not with my hip. I'm going to flex. If you can see that, I'm going to flex my toes up toward me and then bring it up. Now, there's a flexion movement here, here, and at the hip. Okay. Mobility. I should be able to do this movement. Now, the other thing I don't want to see is when you come up, is that you bring the other knee up. Okay. You got to keep the other knee down. At times, what I do is I put a little piece of a towel or something underneath the opposite knee to give you a little bit of a tactile feedback. I should at least get my knee above the hip. Okay. Now, if you have hip surgery that prevents this, that's okay. But I want mobility above through here. You follow me? Back down. Relax your foot. Bring your toe up. Hold it. 1, 2, and then back down. What I tell people to do is just do a healthy dozen. Do 12 on one side, 12 on the other, or you can alternate. Okay. So the first one is prone on elbows. You can type, read. Second one is single knee to chest, SKC, triple flexion. Make sure you initiate with your ankle first and then bring it up from there. The next one, I'm going to demonstrate atrociously. Okay. My hamstrings have been atrocious all my life, surgeries and whatnot. And they're called kick-ups. Okay. Now, you can use a strap. Now, if you don't have a strap or a belt, you can just do, and in this position, again, my toes are pulled up, my hands are behind my thigh, and I'm going to kick up, hold, 1, 2, and then back down. Kick up, 1, 2, and then back down. Again, you don't want the opposite knee to come up. You want to keep it straight. If you have severe back symptoms, you can always bend the knee to protect and alleviate the back. But ideally, your knee is down, heel is down, hip is down. I'm kicking up, I'm bringing my foot up, holding it, 1, 2, and then back down. Sorry, I hit the mute button by accident. This does threefold actually. It causes the anterior muscle, aka the quadricep, to fire and neurologically relax and inhibit the muscle in the back part of your thigh called the hamstring. So we're getting activation and contraction of the anterior muscle, and we're getting relaxation and elongation of the posterior muscle. Second thing it does is it works on sliding the nervous, okay? Your main nerves slide through the back part of your leg. It allows the nerve to glide and slide, okay? And then the other thing, it replicates to the point of, again, pulling your toe up, and we're walking and we're moving, because as we walk, our knee bends as we step through, okay? So it replicates the walking mechanics with that, okay? So those are the 3 exercises: pronoun elbows, very simple, single knee to chest, and kick-ups. Most of the people that come through here with some type of back or hip problem, we do the back because that's preventative. We do the single knee to chest and the kick-ups, excuse me, can't even talk tonight. The kick-ups, because that works on the muscles that surround the hip, the muscles in the anterior part of the thigh, posterior part of the thigh that cross into the hip joint. And the first movement, single knee to chest, works on mobility of what's going on with the hip, okay? The last 2, so we got a handful. I chatted this over with my colleague, Miss Cindy, and these are the 2 points that she wanted me to convey. So we're gonna come back and hopefully we'll get this straight. Good. The one thing is she wanted to talk about was lumbar support. Now, we're going to talk about 2 aspects to this. Most people, this is a chair out of our clinic, sit, and I see them in the waiting room, they're like this, okay? Now, this does a couple things. We are blessed with things that are called sit bones. Ischial tuberosity. Guess what you're supposed to do with the sit bones? If you said sit, you are correct. Keep it super simple. Right, because 2.0. Now, if I'm not sitting on the sit bones because I'm sitting upright, but I'm sitting because I'm slumped, guess what I'm sitting on? I'm sitting on the nerve. I'm sitting on all the soft tissue that's coming out here. So posture is paramount. Now, we can do it several ways. Use a lumbar roll. When you stand, and I'm gluteal down, okay? You have a little curve in here. We all do. It's called a lordotic curve. We also have a curve that matches here at our neck. Same thing. What happens is research shows that if I sit like this, period of time, I will slump back, okay? Now, if I use a roll, or if you don't have a roll, you can use a towel or a beach towel or something of the sort. You can make sure your bum is in the very back of the chair. You put the roll right at your belt level, and then it supports your back. The cool thing about a towel is that you can unroll it to your thickness, or you can roll it thicker. And if you need more, you just add a little bit more thickness to it, and it helps here. Now, if I go to slump, okay, because my back's being supported right through here, lumbar back. If I go to slump, I'm gonna fall out of the chair. Whereas if my hips are here and I go to slump, my back's gonna fill to the back of the chair. You see that? And then as soon as I do that, guess what happens? Now my head goes forward. Go, man, I got neck pain. Sometimes our neck pain is because our low back's not supported and we're slumping, and now I'm flexing at the neck. So if you spend a lot of time at the computer, make sure you have good posture. Now, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is have a chair that's a little bit adjustable or something you adjust. Now, if my hips is higher than my knee, it helps with the lordotic curve to my back. Okay, everybody see that? If my hip, you get a sinking feeling, if my hip is lower than my knee, I have a natural tendency to round. You see that? Whereas if my hip is higher than my knee, I can sit like this. That's why a lot of times I sit on stools, because if I lean back, I fall out of the chair. So I sit like this. Here's a thought that I had, and no one's ever brought this up, but if some of you guys are smart enough, I know Dale, because he and Google are like best friends. If you can find it out, I had a theory the other day. The theory is this: why are bar stools designed so that the seat is so very, very high? Because if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to sit at the bar and have beverages, right? So the seats are not real low. They're high, so that your hips, so that you can sit on your sit bones and you have really good posture and you engage in conversation. You ever think about that? Why are bar stools so high? Like, these things are uncomfortable, but you see people sit there for hours. They're out of wood. There's no squishiness to it, but they sit, not a problem. So there's something to that. Plus, when your hips are higher than your knees, put your back in a good position, put your hips in a good position. And it's actually, if you go to slump, you actually fall out. So if you have a chair and you're having issues, a couple of things that you can do is you can use a lumbar support. I'll use the towel to support that right here at your belt line. And or if you don't have the ability, get a little bit of a pad, get a pillow, get something on the chair so that now my hips are actually higher than my knees. Okay. Of course, Dan, Dale, thanks. I knew you were on it. So we'll talk about this, but yeah, hips are higher than my knees. And I don't really need the slump because with my hips higher than my knees, it supports, and I'm sitting on my sit bones the way I'm supposed to. And then the other thing is, and we talk about this all the time, if you're sitting for long periods of time, set yourself an alarm and get up every 15 minutes. And what I tell people is just get up, move around. Some of the greatest minds today don't actually do a lot of their conferences and a lot of their talks while they're seated. They're actually get up and move around and talk. And I have found that to be beneficial for myself as well. So 5 things: prone on elbows, just 2 minutes, single knee to chest, 2-second pause, do a dozen, do kick-ups. Remember, you can do these. If you're in your chair and you're online and you're waiting for something, maybe the internet's really slow, you can work on doing kick-ups. Okay. Pull your toes up and do that. If you stand up against the wall, you can do your toe ups. You can do your heel ups. Okay. Move every 15 minutes. You don't want your back and your hips to be in the wrong posture. Sitting is the most compressive to the spine and thus to the nerves that go down the legs, one of them being the sciatic nerve, and then into your legs. And plus, muscles will get tight in this position, especially the anterior hip muscles and the posterior hip muscles. And while you're doing it, save your back, save your hips, because if you go to slump, now you're resting on the soft tissue of the nerves and of the muscles. And a lot of times what we find out is not nerve tissue that's causing pain, but there's actually a referred pain pattern down the leg that's actually comes from the glute muscles. So that's it. Questions that we have. So we have about talking about a standing desk as beneficial. Okay. I actually have one in my here in the clinic. I don't call it a standing desk because back in the day, they didn't call them standing desks. They called them architectural desks. And if you guys have been around for a couple of years, you will notice that it's kind of curious that why a lot of architects have big desks and they're all standing. I very rarely see architectural desks seated. I like that position for several reasons. A, I can get a tall stool and I can be in a tall position. So I can sit with both things and my feet on a feet rest, just like they do on the bar stools on this. I can also put one glute on and have partial sit standing. I can stand and I can stand on both feet. I can stand, I'm gonna make this thing. I can put one leg up on a little stool while I'm doing work. I can switch. I can move the stool to the side and do work. So I'm constantly moving. I'd rather work in standing. It's more metabolically active and it's less stressful on my spine and on my nerves. So Sash, standing desks are expensive these days and everything's going up in the world. Exactly. So here's what you can do. What I've told a couple people to do: work on their desk. And I've worked with some tall gentlemen. Work at a counter in the kitchen, or there's people I know that have desks, and I say, get a couple of cinder blocks. And that's not the most sexiest thing in the world. put your desk up on a couple cinder blocks. You don't have to go out and spend $250 on a standing desk. Now, if you work in corporate America that can pay for it, which very few of us do, then that's one thing. But standing desk, I like the height of it. I like the ability to change around. And of course, you can get different stools and different steps to actually change positions all the time. Hopefully that answered your question for you, Van X. So, but I love them. They're great. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to use mine all the time because sometimes I sit at home. But the pronoun elbows is paramount. So, any other questions? Anything you want me to go back over? I went by too quickly, or you have a question about? Fire away. I told my wife I'd be home late, so we're good. Oh, come on. You guys got to have one question. Nothing? Yes. Share the link to the recording. So the first recording, I realized there was an HD box and I did not check it. This recording looks like it's clear. And my plan is to have the video cropped and uplinked to YouTube, which is on a private page. And hopefully my goal is by Thursday, by lunch, to actually have the recording uploaded and send you guys a link so you can rewatch it if you want to, or with it. With this, I will put in here just in case. Good. I typed it right. So that's my email address. If something comes up or if there's a problem, don't hesitate to send me this. In regard to the recording, I don't share it. I don't publicize it. The only people that will get the link are the people that have signed up for the webinar. There are a couple people that I know that wanted to be here tonight, but are traveling and couldn't be here live. So they will get a copy of it. I will, I just ask of you to, keep it private, because some names on here, some not, but this is Williamsburg where everybody gossips in the world. This is just for you guys. So couple final points as people are thinking or writing things down. If you have any pain, significant pain or limitations or issues, if it's not better after 2 weeks, go see someone. It is most likely not going to get better without some assistance, some guidance. And so seek some beneficial medical attention, whatever that may be. People ask me, am I against doctors? Am I against chiropractors? I'm against medical practitioners that are not very good and make you worse and not better. That's who I'm against. I'm not against any group. As long as you find benefit from them, I'm on with them. And with the world of physical therapy or anything else, we have a couple things going on. You can go anywhere you like. So if you go to see a doctor and they send you to XYZ and you want to go to ABC, you can go to ABC. It is free choice in the state. Also in the state of Virginia, we have direct access. So you can go see a physical therapist without a medical prescription. Even if you have Medicare or cash base or anything like that, you can go see a physical therapist for 30 days without a medical prescription. So okay, great question. If you have multiple breaks in your pelvis from a car accident many years ago and have started aching left side where the left leg is a bit shorter, what are the best things to be done? I have a small foot pad to equalize legs. Okay, so couple things we would look at. First thing, true story. And hopefully you are not the lady, because this young lady was young at the time and I was at the thing and I spoke with Dr. Ayers, and this lady came to the hospital. She was at the outlet mall. Long story short, well, outlet mall. She was walking between cars. So now I don't walk between cars anymore. So the lady thought she put it in reverse, put it in forward, crushed the girl between her car and the truck, realized she did that, put the car in reverse, backed up, hit somebody's pickup truck, realized they hit the pickup truck, put the car back in forward and hit the girl again. So hopefully not that. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I was like, and this was around the holidays. That's when I was working. So she had multiple pelvis breaks, and Dr. Ayers and I were talking about it. He was an orthopedic surgeon. Lovely guy. He's now back up north. So what happens if you have multiple breaks in your pelvis? Okay. Well, this is the pelvis. Key point. One thing I would have done is to follow up with your physician and make sure that you don't have a problem with loss of bone. Okay. First and foremost. So make sure you get an osteoporosis, osteopenia test and make sure you're healthy there. Okay. Along the spine as well into the pelvis. One thing we would look at, is your spine moving well? Is your thoracic spine, which is what we worked on rotation, side bend? Is this part of your spine working well? And then is your lumbar? After doing that, we would see to make sure your pelvis is good. Now, if one pelvis is higher than the other, one leg's going to be shorter than the other. Now, that can be due to several reasons. That can be the pelvis being shorter. That can be due to your thigh bone being shorter. Okay, femur. It could be the bone below that called the tibia. That could be shorter. Both could be shorter. You could have an upslip. You could have a rotation. Okay, we're getting lost yet? Yeah, that's how confusing this stuff can be. So how do we do it? What I recommend, make sure this is good. Then go see a practitioner that can look at your pelvis, look at your legs, look at that. Then let's look at what's going on with feet. Now, there's people that I've had come into the clinic, and my colleague, Miss Cindy, who does a wonderful job with this, people have come with a foot pad, only to know that one part of the hip bone has slipped higher on the sacrum, which is this part of your spine, has slipped up. As soon as she corrects them and their feet are equal, what happens is the foot pad will actually cause them to tilt sideways. So if it is a true osteo, there's a difference in the bone, then the foot pad is the way to go. You never want to correct equal. If there's a shortness, you never want to correct the equal. You always want to be just a little bit off because the body's never perfectly symmetrical. Okay. If you ever want to do that, look around and look how people carry shoulders, and people like always have one shoulder higher than the other. We're never perfectly symmetrical. Okay. So looking at that, next thing I would look at is how well is the muscle tissue? How well is your core stability, motor control? A lot of times these muscles that come off the abdominals that come into the pelvis and they attach right here. Okay. This is where your abdominals attach right here, right? The bone right above your genitalia. And then what are the muscles doing in the back? If there's any asymmetry with that, we look at that. What are your hip muscles doing? What is your hip flexors doing? Can they extend? You shouldn't be able to extend that far back, but can you extend backwards to normal? Can you go from here? Can you rotate in? Can you rotate out? What do those look like? Can you come across, adduct? Can you abduct? Great. Look at motion. What's next? What's your nervous system doing? What is your muscle strength doing? What is your muscle motor control? And how I demonstrate this with people is your arms by your side. Bring your arm up to 90 degrees against resistance. So they bring it up. You're like, oh, you're strong. Good. Hold it there. Don't let me move you. And next thing I know, I start moving their arm all the way around and it starts moving. The problem is people like, well, I need to work on strength. So they stand up. That's strength and power. Now, can you stand up? Great. I can do that. Can I stand on one leg and not tilt and turn and everything else? That's motor control. So do you have motor control in the muscles of the abdominal and thoracic complex, as well as what the hips or what the feet are doing? If the feet intrinsic muscles are not stable, then everything upstream is not going to hold up. You understand how simple that answer is? So you know why we set aside an hour for an evaluation. People are like, oh yeah, I got a place to go evaluation in 15 minutes. Well, I'm sorry, I'm Italian and we don't even get into a conversation until 15 minutes. So the big thing is, and Dr. William Osler, and I will paraphrase him. If you don't know who he is one of the top 4 doctors that have ever been in the United States. He is one of the guys that helped develop a no-name university and hospital. I think it's called Johns Hopkins up in Baltimore, if you've never heard of it. He said, if you let the person speak, they will tell you the problem 98% of the time. Okay. This is my interpretation. Shut up and listen. They'll tell you what's wrong. The problem is, and the research shows with doctors, I'm glad it's done with doctors, that when patients come in and start talking about their problems, they are interrupted in less than 6.7 seconds. 6.7 seconds. Hello, my name. Okay, I know what your problem is. You need a shot. You need, like, wait, I didn't get my name out. 6.7 seconds. That's what the research shows. So how am I going to learn about you and your condition and specifically what's you? Just because you have pelvic pain from multiple fractures doesn't mean like you're every pelvic pain person out there with leg issues and everything else. You can tell me what works, what doesn't work. I ask people, like, have you been to PT? What works, what doesn't work? What has a doctor that has done that hasn't worked? What have you done that works and doesn't work? So every case is unique and every case is specific. So in your case, go through some of these tests that we did today. Go through them again. If you don't have feedback, grab a smartphone, grab a friend, going, these are the tests that I want to do. Tell me if there's anything that looks off. And if the answer is yes, then figure it out. Can you pull your knee up? Can you pull your leg up while standing and not fall over? Can you rotate your foot in and out? Is that normal? If you feel pain or any significant tightness, then I would exhaust that path and that first. A lot of times it's not very severe. I've been referred a lot of people in the past to do running analysis. And they're like, when are you going to do running analysis? I go, very simple. I've got to make sure you move well. So I get them to the point where they do normal functional movement. And then I have them go run. And then they go run after we got to this. And they're like, I'm like, well, how's it feel? She goes, I don't hurt anymore. Good. Are you going to do running analysis? I just did. You just ran a mile. How does it feel? It feels great. You have any pain? No. Good. Here's a return to run program. Well, you didn't watch me run on the treadmill. Well, do you run on the treadmill or do you run 5Ks and 10Ks out in the world? Well, I do that. Well, good. Watching you run as a belt moves underneath you is not a representation of how you run. We've got to make sure that we have, and this is the problem we're having because we're sitting so much in our society, is can you move basic and functionally as well? If you can't rotate, you've got an issue. Now, I'm going to say this thing because I always talk about this. What is the first movement function that we do every single day? It's usually a form of rotation. For most of us, especially at work, it's either two things. You reach over and turn the alarm clock off, or you reach over and smack your significant other for freaking waking you up too early because you can sleep in that day. Or sometimes it's both. Okay. So rotation, most of us should not sit up straight up in bed. Most of us rotate to get out of bed. Most of us rotate to get in the phone, to whatever. So why do you think the first movement I had you guys do was rotation? Because that is the first functional movement. And if you have limits in with rotation, which is a high level movement, everything downstream is not going to move well. Okay. Well, I have athletes. One of the most common movements in our athletes, rotation. Look at my guys who play tennis. My people play golf. My girls who play field hockey, baseball, water polo, badminton, throwing, catching, soccer, rotating, kicking. There's no movement. Even when we run, if you break it down, even though we're moving forward, we're actually rotating at a micro level. So rotation is paramount. So if you come in, and I recommend you go see Cindy because she's a guru with the pelvis and the low back and the hips. She'd look to see all those motions. What's the hip rotating? What's the back doing? What's the pelvis doing? And that's the issue. In this area that we're dealing with, when I lost my spine, you're dealing not only what the pelvis is doing, you're also dealing with what the low back is doing and what the hips are doing. This is a very complex area. So, but through process elimination and through an evaluation, you can figure out what's going on. So, okay. Hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions? Other thing, we're going to take, I did one last month on the shoulder. We're going to take August off because it's my birthday month. So we're going to take August off. Plus everybody is going to enjoy last month of the summer. And then we're going to start back up in September. I haven't decided exactly what it's going to be, but just keep an eye out for it. So if you guys have any questions, you have my email. If you'd like to learn any more about us, you can go to the website. You can call us. You can stop by, schedule a meet and greet. And Danny. So any more questions? I don't see any more.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, fire away.
Thank you. Just wanted to say thank you, Sasha. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. So, well, you guys have a great evening. Stay cool. Thanks again. Have a glorious night. And I appreciate it. You guys have a great one. Thanks for stopping by.